So I shouldn't talk about me.
No, oh, we're live already. Hey
Good
guys,
Good
how's it
morning.
going? Good
Up and
morning.
at it.
So we're doing things a little bit differently. Anyone that watched our KD live broadcast yesterday, Jonathan's out on vacation. We actually do let him take some time off. Dwayne Rains is actually taking care of a plumbing situation. And so today I'm joined by Dwayne Husbands, who is our international sales manager, but at the same time, we all have titles, but we all work as one big team. And then I have Butch Thomas with us today, who is one of our KeyDigital dealers. And we're going to do a little free form today and discuss AV over IP. We've done so many different products and everything else. Yesterday was the 4x4 Pro, but a lot of it is with the standard matrix aspect where everybody was going, I call old school, so I got a couple of years on you guys. But now everything with AV over IP, which has been a huge thing for us, to be able to put things onto a network or an existing network and take a source and say, hey, I'm going to broadcast it all the way across the board. So part of the reason that we brought Butch in is Butch has been on fire lately with all kinds of crazy projects. We're going to try to do another run and let him do a walkthrough a couple of different sites on a future broadcast. But on the overall, I'm going to share my screen for a second and just bring in the overall concept of AV over IP. But I'm going to try not to do too many slides and make this more about us just trying to talk and shop and what we've discovered, what works and what doesn't work. Hold on one second. And
Oh, it works all right.
that's what we're always hoping.
Yeah, it
Hold
works.
on.
Plug and play, no plug and play.
All right, so real quick, where are we at? So here's just a typical little example real quick, AV over IP solutions of just showing how we're taking some sources, putting them into an encoder, running this to a managed switch, which we have on our resource on our side. So all of our verified switches, et cetera, that work with our system itself, out to some decoders. So just kind of a rough example, extremely rough, of just how that concept works. I'm taking an encoder, putting it on a network, a decoder behind each one, each single display, and be able to broadcast that particular signal, switch it around using either our compass control or using our KD app.
What's really cool here is that not only is this showing the ability to use these things as a matrix switcher, because essentially that's what you would create. But in the past, when using a matrix switcher and you wanted to do anything like a video wall in a traditional matrix switch system, you'd end up buying a separate matrix switcher device and putting it on the output of or the input of the matrix, and or wiring the sources using DAs on the front end of the sources to go into the switch and then go into the to the video wall processor. Well, these units are so flexible that they have the ability to video wall is built into each RX unit. So you plug them behind the TV, you tell it it's a video wall, and it will automatically do the video wall setup for you, pretty much.
Right.
So I'm not a big slide guy real quick, and myself and Dwayne do so many presentations, so I'm going to stop this real quick, and it's more about us kind of just talking shop and hence, drinking our coffee. So part of this, and I'm going to throw this out to Butch, is the biggest thing is when we talked about to our dealers and mentioned AV over IP is, guys are thinking, well, I'll just do a regular standard matrix. A big thing is a lot of guys are like, hey, I'm not an IT guy. So you're trying to relay that. How have you kind of overcome that aspect?
Well, the simplest way to put it in terms of that, because that's a pretty broad question, because not everybody's an IT guy.
Yeah.
And in most scenarios, in fast environments like bars, restaurants, and clubs, or sports bars, wherever you are, these people do not have the time to try and figure out what's wrong or why the TV's not changing channels or whatever the thing is. The key components that I find with KeyDigital and its technology is that it works. It works. You press the button and you walk away, and that's the point. And that's what technically everybody wants. But you don't get that in every single scenario. You go on Amazon, you go on Wish or whatever it is, and you try and find something to do these type of elements, and then you end up with garbage, or you end up with something that just doesn't work. So the simplest way to put it, and I'm glad you put it in that perspective of everybody's not an IT guy, because they're not.
Yeah.
And they're not going to be. However, once they see the simplicity and understand how Key is just a turnkey system, that you don't have to be an IT guy to watch TV. And of course, in the old days when you had component connections just to watch things in high definition, and then going over to HDMI, and then understanding that you had to have a cable box behind the television, and then the IR doesn't work because you're standing on the other side of the room. There's so many different variations that now, this day and age, and I remember when Wayne told me that that the IP system is, it's when it was in development at that point in time. It wasn't out yet. And when he told me about it, and I couldn't wrap my head around it. I didn't get it until I got it. And then it's like, yo, there is no other system. Like
I remember the first time I mentioned video over IP to you, and I sat down, I did a full design, and Butch was like, yeah, no, I'm gonna take a matrix switcher, because he's like, I just don't get it. And we were like, all right, well, okay. And
Right.
then one day he came to me and he's like, look, I got a budget. I need to do this, this, this. I need to do a video wall. And I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to have to give you an 8x8 matrix. Then I'm going to have to put 1x2s on the front end and split the sources.
Right.
You a VW 4x4, and then you need balance on every output. And it was like, how much is that? I was like, a lot. I was like, and the install is going to be painful. So I was like, you just got to try the video over IP. And he was like, all right, show me this thing. And Butch, you're a network guy. You know networking relatively well. You didn't have to, because one thing that we offer at KeyDigital is that we program the whole thing for you.
Right.
That's one of the positives here. You order a video over IP system from us, and our engineers take the time you fill out a form, you tell us IP addresses you need, and our engineers take the time to set up the network switch, set up the unit, label it with a P-touch, and mail it out to you ready to plug and play. So you don't have to be, but Butch was a network guy. So when I actually said, Butch, you can use what you use, a network switch. You know network switch? He goes, yes. I'm like, you know a router, you know how to set up a Wi-Fi network? He's like, yes. I'm like, so you need 2 of these boxes for the sources and 4 of these for the video wall.
Right.
And you're gonna plug each of them in, and it's gonna work like a matrix switch. And he's like, wait, how am I gonna go from input 1 to output 1? I'm like, it's gonna act just like a switch. It's gonna go this IP to that IP.
Right.
He goes, I'm gonna have to type IP addresses in. I'm like, no, it's not gonna function that way, but that's how it's gonna work. And now I can't get him to buy anything else besides video IP at all. He doesn't. It's like
it doesn't. That's the thing. And when you, I pride myself in buying technology, new technology, and testing it, because you have to put your hands on it to understand it. And then when you and that makes it a lot simpler to deploy it. And then when you're in the field to get rid of it or to sell it and use it, you understand it before it even leaves the lab. So that's why I'm so grateful for you, Dwayne, because you know your stuff. I can throw, there's very few people, okay, that I can actually talk tech to, right? And I mean talk tech to, that can keep up. And you, by far, I can absolutely pride myself in you because I know you and I are going to talk the same language.
I appreciate that. I appreciate those. Listen, my technical ability from years of working with Mike Sinberg, I don't think you have a choice but to be technical. I remember we were on a call with a customer and Mike said to me, Dwayne, and this was years ago, I was like beginning tech support for the company. And Mike goes, Dwayne, it sounds like the CEC line is having a corruption on the data. And if this pin is this, and I'm on the call with him and a customer, and he's talking, and at this point, it is so quiet, you can tell that both me and the customer are lost. You have no clue what you're talking about, but he was completely sure he knew exactly what was going on.
Right.
And I was like, okay. He goes, all you gotta do is change the HDMI cable. The dealer was like, wait, you told me all that to tell me the HDMI cable is bad. and the guy was like, all right, I'll switch the HDMI cable. The guy sent an email. He's like, guys, that worked.
That is it.
So it's like from that point, like you have to be technical. I don't know anyone here, whether you're in sales, tech, design, everyone here has the ability to be damn near an engineer. And that's something we actually do with our dealers. Like Butch is always like technical and smart. He was great with networking. But like I could probably venture to say that just coming to KeyDigital, you learned a lot on the video side.
Yes, absolutely. I used to before I married KeyDigital, should I say. I used to deal with a company called CE Labs. And CE Labs they were good. They did what I needed it to do. They made a very, very good product until I found a better one. Right. And that's where Key comes in. And then, you know, of course, there's 1,000 companies out here that try and do what Key does, but no, Key does it. And it's important to understand that in not just a brand, but this is more than a brand. This is a functioning product. And people don't not necessarily people don't care, should I say, about names in certain situations. They just want it to work. And that's where this comes in with flying colors, because I have a lot of locations, and when they press that button, it has to work. So I get to sleep at night instead of getting a call. I used to get calls 2 o'clock in the morning.
You know what those calls? You know what those calls?
Oh, forget it. And you know, it's not only just televisions. I do visualizations and branding on these displays. So whether it be the logo.
Not to take away from the video of RIP, Butch has this concept where he uses these projectors to do the like, you know, on the next call, you're gonna have to get us the video so you can show it live and show everyone what you do. Butch does this insane thing with the projectors on, like, you got to see it, Scott. Like, I can't even explain it. It's something you have to see. Like, only he would think of this crap.
Yeah, so that's the whole thing. Like, to get creative when you have gear to get creative with. So, and yeah, go ahead, Scott.
So part of that, like, you know, with the AV over IP, to take it back a loop, is two things. But you know that, like, and I don't think even our superiors know. Myself, Dwayne, the other Dwayne, Jonathan, we talk to each other all day long. Right. So it's like, you have the idea, you know, there's at least a team. We can reach out to engineering or reach out to sales or whatever. You're going to get an answer before the end of the day. You know that.
That's true.
But
yep, that's true.
At the same thing, that's what we kind of pride ourselves on. It's like, but we're trying to educate people on the AV over IP. You got it. We are configuring it. We're sending it to you. So part of that is, it's like, we're giving you all that. You're plugging it in, but you yourself have taken the time and say, okay, this plug and play situation works, but how did it work? So we're throwing boxes at you, but at least, you know, there's still.
But a lot of it also comes from the dealer, right? Because Butch, while we program it free of charge, as John says, free 99, and we send out the gear RDP program, Butch is one of those guys that he's so technical, he wants to do it himself.
Yeah.
So Butch came to the office, he stressed out Mark for like 30 minutes, and he made Mark teach him how to program them himself.
Right.
Well, this is beneficial, and it kind of goes to the kind of dealer you are. We will always program it for you free of charge. But guess what? If Butch is on a job site and a unit goes bad, instead of having to call me, have me put an order together, have the engineer program it and mill the unit out, Butch can come to the office, or we can ship one to him, whatever it may be. Butch we can get it out. Let's say it's 5 o'clock in the afternoon and we have to ship it. We can't get it programmed and shipped at that time because it needs to get there the next day. We can send it out. Butch himself knows how to hook it up to the computer and program it himself. Right. He took the time to want to learn that. And that's a big deal. If you're going to invest in your business and your brand and what you're doing, you know, we do it for free. We have no problem doing it for free. But again, if Butch is on the job site and there's an IP conflict somewhere, Butch can reset the unit and change IP addresses himself.
Right.
You know? And we have other dealers that do that are willing. The process isn't hard. It's actually very easy. Right. But people don't take the time to do it. They want to be handled, and we're totally okay with it. But a dealer like Butch will always succeed because of his ability to adapt and do his own thing and program and
understand.
His mind works the way it works. We'll tell Butch this unit can climb trees, and Butch will say, "But can it climb trees and eat a sandwich at the same time?" And I'm like, why we want to do that? Well, it can climb trees. Why? And Butch is going to find a way to use this thing in ways that it probably was never intended to be used.
Correct.
But it will drive our engineers to be better and find solutions and loophole and rig and just make it work in every way.
And that's the point. The thing is, and just understanding, and I really, 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 it took me to touch it, to understand it fully, and then really realize how important, okay, and this is where it really comes in crucial, how important it is to have the right power of switching capabilities inside before you even touch it. Because throwing that much data, and people don't realize it, because when you get online, like right now, we're online, we're using our computers, I'm using my iPad, we're wireless, things are working, and it's okay. However, with the video over IP, it requires power. And that switching capability of power cannot be underestimated. It can't even be replaced. It has to be first. And that's how everything, and another thing, like just even going a little bit deeper, you know, because even refresh rates on the televisions themselves. I have 2 sets of video walls at one location, Don Key in White Plains, and they have a 3x2, two 3x2s. And basically the TVs in the front, all brand new Samsungs, 120 hertz, beautiful, works fluently, everything is even. TVs on the back, 60 hertz. They're a little bit of choppy because the refresh rates on the television aren't keeping up as fast as the system is. And of course, I wouldn't have known that until I did it. So now, of course, I'm going to end up replacing those televisions and then everything that's done. It's a TV thing, not a key thing. But the throughput power of the switch with jumbo packets and control is paramount. And that's one thing that I've learned, even now on a computer aspect of it, not even just a key aspect. The fact that just buying real powerful managed switches make a huge difference on your network. And you know, from bottlenecking to things just dropping out, to packet loss or whatever it is, you know, that's why I find it crucial to have that component, that switching component before you even go out the door. And
this is why we test network switches, and we have a recommended list of network switches to use, because all network switches aren't built the same. No. You can go buy a $10,000 network switch that isn't going to work well with video over IP because it doesn't have certain capabilities, right? So we test switches, and if you're a dealer and you're using a switch that we've never tested and you want to send us a switch, we'll test it. We'll run it. We'll tell you, will it work with the product that we have? Because there's some people who are married to certain switches. Like I know a dealer who won't touch anything that isn't Cisco. He's he's a network guy. He believes Cisco is the greatest company in the world. And we know Cisco is high end and it's a good brand and it works. So we told him, hey, you can use a Luxol, or he's like, I ain't using it if it ain't Cisco. So we started testing Cisco brands and we found a bunch of Ciscos that work. So he can choose from any of those.
Right.
So, and you know, a lot of our ability to do these things are because of us having our engineers here in-house in New York.
Yeah.
A lot of other manufacturers, they buy from China, manufacturers in China, engineers in China. If there's a problem, you got to email China and wait for a response.
Right.
With digital, if there's a problem, I walk downstairs to the lab, grab an engineer and said, did you build this? He says, no, this guy built it. I walk over to his office. You designed this? Great. What's wrong with it?
Right. How do we fix it?
He'll say, well, what's the problem? I'll tell him. He'll say, oh, firmware. Give me 10 minutes. Open firmware. Edit firmware. Email this to the customer. Tell them to hook up a USB cable. Reload the firmware. It's good to go.
Walk away.
That happens all the time.
Right. Right. And the thing is, even with that, that's the thing with the video over IP and the simplicity of it, and just understanding where we've come from matrix switchers to video balance to distance issues or whatever it is. It's just there was a way of doing things to get things done. And as I said, just even coming from a component aspect, whereas you're using MuxLab Cat5 over to component. And what does it work? Yes, of course. And then, but that's the old way of doing it. Whereas now is everything is video over IP. And there's no need to go any other direction at this point. And even if it's just regular TV to a video wall, you need video over IP, period. And that's what it's just so simple. Decoder, encoder, walk away.
That's one of the best things that, with KeyDigital, having Mike behind the helm, always looking for other challenges, us throwing stuff at him saying, hey, Mike, what about this? What about that? So those guys are always thinking. Mike is always thinking. Mm-hmm. So it's awesome. And you could even call and reach out to Mike and be like, hey, Mike, I got this idea. The open communication with the dealers and having the relationship is huge, because you could call us, you could call anybody, email, you're going to get an answer. But conversations like this, even though this is a live broadcast, before this broadcast, we were coming up with another idea. So all this stuff, it's, huge. It's relations,
Right. Yeah. And the thing is, we have to be first.
Yep.
And the thing is, the saying is, you don't have to be right. You have to be first. No. In this scenario, it's already right. Now we just have to be first.
Yeah.
So it's one thing when you're an installer and a designer, and you have, certain projects that take precedence over what you're doing. And it's one really huge, I don't want to call it a rock, but it's a weight that's completely lifted. It doesn't even exist because already that it's going to work.
Yeah.
And that's where I just confide in KeyDigital and the video over IP aspect of it, because I don't have anything that doesn't work. So as long as it's working, and that's the bottom line. Nobody cares how it gets there, or what loop it went through, or what packet was sent. They don't care. Did I press the button?
Come on.
Yeah.
Yes.
Did it turn on?
Right.
Yeah, that's it.
Right.
And I understand that. So being able to hand over an iPad with the key app on it, and being able to show them, take your finger, press that button. Take your finger, swipe here, and then go back to pouring drinks. So it's really important for people to understand the simplicity of it before the complexity, because the complexity isn't there for the end user. And that's why it's important to for someone to see it and touch it, even if they don't understand what happens on the back end engine part, People don't even know what happens when they turn the key on their car. So, but they know when they turn.
That's a good analogy. You know, a lot of people out there are like, you know, how does it work? Da 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 da. I mean, a lot of guys, you plug it, you turn your car on and you drive. A lot of guys, you know, you got to do all changes every couple months.
Right.
You put gas in it or it falls apart.
Right.
But you hear sound, you hear clicking, you don't know what it is, you die. The thing is with KeyDigital, we post so much information on our website.
Right.
Like if you were to sit down and look through everything on our website for a product, you'd find everything as far as the amount of bandwidth it uses, the audio delay if there's any for the specific product. Right? Literally, we don't hide it. We don't it's just there.
Right. The education to understand is important, and then there's a saying. I think it's RTFM, and
yeah, probably can't say that live, but essentially we're saying you should probably read the manual because now I will take blame for this. I told Butch this last week. Butch came to me with something that wasn't working the way he thought it should work. And I said, it's the RTFM. And he said, what is that? And I gave him the manual and he said, oh crap, it's here. I was like, yes.
Exactly. It was right there.
It is.
That's funny. But
yeah.
Now I forgot what I was going to say. So the overall for a client, it's kind of funny because there's tons of black boxes out there. There's manufacturer A through Z, right? So when you have a whole bunch of black boxes and you're like, hey, you're talking to your end user or your client, you know, and you're like, hey, they don't know. It's a black box. They're looking at it going, what does this do? You know, but you're also giving them the user experience, which they could appreciate and interact with, either Compass Control or the KD app. So it's kind of funny. I have other friends in the industry that work for other manufacturers, and it's like, hey, we all sell black boxes, right? They all do a certain thing. But it's funny because when somebody sees a retailer, like, hey, that little black box is costing me what? So they're going back to you, Butch, and going, I'm spending how much? But when they see the end result and they have the user experience, it's what's huge.
Right.
But, you know, we get it.
Yeah. I mean, the cost perspective, costs are costs. You know, nobody really knows really what it takes overall to get things done. And there are perspectives of what people would like to pay, what they budget for, and then what it actually costs.
Mm-hmm.
So you know, I don't usually haggle, should I say, with the numbers. The numbers are the numbers.
Yeah.
And you know, unless it's something completely egregious and outrageous, then there's something to say. But when you're dealing with a product that actually works, there's nothing to say. It's just, oh, that's the price. Okay, let's do it. And next thing you know, that one thing that you wanted to get done is consistently being done, and for years, not just for the first few weeks, not for a few months, years. This stuff works. Of course, there's going to be another revision. There's going to be an upgrade. There's always going to be something redeveloped and better. But in this scenario here, the way that the video over IP aspect is working now, man, it's an absolute game changer.
Yeah, and it's also giving us the ability. I'm only going to touch lightly on it because I'm not trying to open up a can of worms. But as more of the 8K stuff comes out, so now we're requiring massive bandwidth or something that needs to be the crap compressed out of it to be able to get it from A to B. So it's like even our team is constantly working. I mean, you know, we all see retail people selling 8K displays, the limited amount of you know, content available, but it's going to be interesting because now we're just looking for more and more bandwidth, and we need the power, the horsepower, the speed to be able to get that 8K content. You know, it took us, look how long it took us to get to 4K content versus you know, like you remember component video, you know.
Right. Yeah. And that's the thing. This stuff is, and just to put that in perspective, that is still being used.
Yep. Oh,
and
yeah.
It's out there. And the thing is, it works. It does work. And you know, in some to most instances, when people come out to eat, you know, I don't want to say they don't care if it's an HD signal, or they don't care if it's not a true sharp image. They just want to see what they're looking for, whether it's the basketball game, the football game, baseball game, New Year's, whatever it is. They just need to see it. And,
agreed.
Right. And that's where, you know, a lot of these locations that's still surviving with their old components is because it's still working. However, now that the curve is here, and thank God, KeyDigital is ahead of the curve, or leading that curve. There's components out here. There's hardware that KeyDigital supplies, video over IP, that actually works. And then you don't have to have, like, you know, I'm about to go on my shed. As a matter of fact, hold on a second. Let me just go grab something. I'm gonna bring it right back. Hold on.
All right. Well, people, it looks like we lost Dwayne. So we're still here again. Appreciate
me. Oh. I'm here.
Okay, disappeared on us. So as Butch is grabbing something real quick to show us, but we were just going through and talking real quick before we wrap this up. The going from component over to 8K, and I kind of laugh because even when you go out to a restaurant, I'll look and I'll notice, you know, I should say when we used to go to restaurants.
I was going to say, when was the last time you've been outside to a restaurant?
Yeah. So I'll like look, and I'm, you know, it's a force of habit. We're always looking at the AV gear, you know, and I see TVs that are still component, you know, in a nice establishment. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, wow. I was like, if they go out and buy a new TV, A, they're going to have a hard time finding a component, or they're going to do a massive overhaul to be able to switch everything over to AV over IP.
And the cost now on an HDMI TV, you can get a 55-inch for $200 at Costco.
Yep, it's crazy. So I think Butch was grabbing a relic, which I really appreciate him taking the time today.
Yeah, Butch is a huge fan of KeyDigital. He's a supporter. But you know, we take care of our dealers, and our dealers, most of our dealers are very loyal to us because they know they can call, like Butch said before, Butch can call me at midnight generally, and as long as I'm not too dead in a coma, I'm picking up the phone, you know.
And that's important because my clients too, like when they realize they're in a jam and they really need something, they know they can call me 1-2 o'clock in the morning, and I'm gonna pick up my phone because it's my responsibility to make sure that what I install works.
Yep.
And you know, I have no issue with that, and I'm able to maintain it. And with Key's component, it makes everything a lot simpler. But here, really quick, this is just a quick drop. You see this box right here? Okay, this is in my shed, right? And this is.
We all have one of those. Wow.
Yeah, exactly. See this? This is old stuff, and
yeah.
I have a significant amount. Now, see, these are older, but everything in here still works. I just don't need it. And I have so much stuff in here. It's not even, that's what I'm saying. Like, right. Wow. And the thing is that, and with the video over IP, all this stuff is irrelevant.
Yeah.
I don't need it anymore. And look what I'm able to do. And this is thousands and thousands of dollars worth of gear that video over IP completely eliminates. And yeah, it's important to, it completely eliminates it. And it's important to understand that. That's what I say, because I have a lot of stuff. And I try out a lot of gear.
Or just for the wall wart factor there is the best, because you're powering it over PoE, okay?
Right.
And then, like, just seeing all those power supplies, we all have one of those boxes. I've got multiple ones of those boxes. My wife's like, what's that for? I was like, that's the emergency box. When something goes south and you need it.
Now, when a cable breaks, I'll find it in there. I know I will.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And as soon as you get rid of that box, you know it's like, uh-oh, why did I throw that out?
Right. And that's the thing. That's what I'm saying. Like, even myself, like, I hold on to certain things that I don't need, like this box. But in the event, that I do need something, I might be able to find a power supply, whatever it is, and ship it out at 5 volts or whatever it needs. But the thing is, just getting back to that and just understanding that PoE, power over Ethernet, from the switch itself, eliminates having power on both sides.
Yep.
And that's another factor, because not every television has 2 outlets or even enough outlets to support what you're trying to do.
Right.
So yeah, exactly. So and of course I've ran in these scenarios where I'm behind a TV on a ladder, hanging 90 degrees to the left under a fan that's blowing heat. that that I'm trying to get a HDMI cable plugged in and then figure out where am I getting power from. So you know,
Or the TV is so thin and close to the wall that a wall wart can't fit behind the TV.
yeah,
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. So these are scenarios that you run into as an installer, but you don't see it until you do it. So with the power over Ethernet, it's like with my surveillance cameras that I install. It's a game changer. Like I don't even do analog cameras for years now. Years since power over Ethernet cameras are here. And I have hundreds and hundreds of cameras out there that are constantly working. Like, and I must say, it's just like, how would I say it? Like the same importance it is for a surveillance camera to protect your assets and property, it's the same importance you need for these televisions to turn on and work.
Yeah.
And that's where, you know, as I said, I just keep on standing by it. And it's very difficult to knock me down amongst other people on something that I know I'm standing up for. And right now, with the video over IP, the way KeyDigital has it, you're not knocking me down. You're like, no, this good luck. I'm gonna. You can come up to me with a whatever type of car you want. I got a tank with a nuclear missile in it. And I'm like, just don't try it. Just walk away.
I got to laugh, Dwayne, as we wrap this up, and the check is just getting larger and larger that we need to send out to Butch. But again, I know we went a little bit over on this one, but it was definitely a change of pace on this one, just to talk to experience and kind of talk shop on the overall. Again, we appreciate your time. Butch, we'll try to get with you again, and we'll do something while you're on site in that location. We appreciate everybody that's been watching us live or watches the replay on this. So everybody go through, take the time. Thank you again for joining us with Coffee with Key. We'll see you on next round, and we'll bring back our special guest, Butch, to learn a little bit more. And thank you all for taking the time to spend with us today.
Pleasure.
Thank you, guys.
Absolute pleasure. All right. I love that.